I wonder if I play some music, can you guys hear it?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay.
that. Yeah,
I'll just leave some music for the
back.
next 3 minutes while people join us. Yo, shout out Ishak. Ellis, it's like a work call. Everyone on TikTok, thanks for joining. Listen, I'm joined by Az&Riz and everyone else who's on Zoom right now. We're just waiting for Az to sort out his issues at the moment, his audio issues, and we should be good to go. Why don't you just do a normal live if you want to live stream it? Because people want to ask questions directly. So it's quite hard on TikTok.
Sorry, guys, can you just make some noise, like just for testing purposes?
Yep. Test, test. Can you hear us?
Testing one, two, three, testing.
Is it working? Salton, do you want to mute yourself? I can hear you coughing, bro. Just mute you. Sorry. Yes, all 96 seats are taken. Everyone's joining in right now.
How many people have we got, Michael? I can't see the.
Right now we have about 30 people, 40 people in the chat. I've got 40 on TikTok. The Zoom thing ain't working for me. Come on, Simon, let it start. Chill out.
So we've got 26 people in the Zoom.
Okay. Well, let's just start then. Once Az comes back.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, we wanted to do a Zoom call because we wanted people to ask us questions because I've had a lot of feedback from people saying that they want to ask questions directly. And yeah, that's why we tried the Zoom thing.
Michael, can you mute everyone on the Zoom call, please?
Yep.
I don't think I have it. All right, it's 5 minutes. But we're ready for my side.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
Perfect.
All right, let's go.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining the webinar today. Obviously today you have Az&Riz and Michael Maz. I'm pretty sure everyone knows us from the TikTok and in terms of what we do and what our content is about. Today is basically to give everyone an opportunity to get us to know us a bit better in terms of our work history, current trends, the offerings that we have in terms of our TikTok page, and any closing remarks that we have. We also will be given an opportunity for you guys to ask us questions, right? So whatever questions you have in your mind, you'll be able to ask that. We have a good amount of time for you guys to ask questions. So I suggest we formally kick off. If we go to the next slide, Michael, do you want to give a brief background in terms of who you are, your work history, and your education, please?
Yep, sure. Thank you, Riz. Thank you, Az. Thank you everyone for joining, everyone who's on Zoom and TikTok. I'm Michael Maz. I have been working for about 15 years now. I'm a lead business analyst, and I've recently been working at Equinity, worked at Capco and Citibank. I work for DWP. I work for Nationwide Building Society, Bupa. I work for some American companies, and I studied industrial design, product design at Northumbria Uni, and then I did my master's in engineering. And I'm certified in Prince 2 project management and Lean Six Sigma. and I also did portfolio planning office practitioner as well. And I've been working in mostly finance and insurance sectors for the last 10 years. And yeah, just contracting. And I started this TikTok page to show people how you can um, make six figures without necessarily having to have gone to good university. So yeah, that's my offering. Yeah, anything else? Yeah, I can't leave anything else. Yeah, that's it for me.
All right, thank you, Michael. On to the next person, myself. So everyone, my name is Rizwan Khan, better known as Riz. Everyone calls me Riz. In terms of my work history, I started off at Hewlett Packard on the graduate scheme, predominantly focused on project management, project support. Then I worked at a boutique consultancy firm called Protivity. That was a contract for about 6, 7 months. Then I worked at TalkTalk, which is a UK telecoms provider. Pretty sure everyone knows who they are, as a PMO analyst. Then I worked at State Street for 4 years, 4.5 years, where I was a project manager and a PMO portfolio lead. And then currently I'm working at Deloitte, which is part of the Big Four, as a senior consultant in their major programs arm. What that basically means is it's a bunch of consultants who have experience in delivering large transformation programs for organizations. In terms of education qualification, went to Bruno University, did information systems in business that has been renamed to business computing. In terms of qualifications, I've got Prince 2, I've got P30, similar to what Michael has mentioned. And then I'm a certified Scrum Master as well, which is essentially focusing on the agile perspective of project management. In terms of why we started this page, again, is to help individuals to get into the industry, to give them tips, CV tips, work tips, etc., and just help you guys to eventually go on your own journey as well. And if we can help to do that, then that makes us feel good. Az, do you want to give an overview of yourself?
Yeah, so for all of you guys that are on both the TikTok chat and the Zoom call, my name is Az, full name is Azar. I'm more of a recent grad, so I graduated with my mechanical engineering degree, I think during COVID, COVID 20, and I started in a grad scheme. So I started with Accenture on the software engineering grad scheme. For people that don't know, Accenture is one of the biggest tech consultancy companies. I worked there for around 2 years, and then I felt like I wanted to move out. I wanted to try something else, move to a product-based company. Then I moved over to Sky, and I'm part of the cloud engineering team, working as a DevOps engineer, handling content and distribution. So content origination and distribution. On the right-hand side, it just shows my qualifications. So I showed my degree, but also the tech stack that I work with. Stuff as AWS, Terraform, Python. If you guys know about tech, you probably know about some of these tech stacks. The motivations behind the page is again what my brother said. At least the unique twist with our page is that you have myself, a recent grad who pivoted into tech with a mechanical engineering degree, and then for people who want a bit more experience or they're already in the corporate career, you can speak to my brother Riz, and he'll be able to provide advice on that. But yeah, that's all about me. Are we moving the next slide? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I muted myself there. So now we're gonna go into the kind of meat of the presentation and giving you guys some overviews in terms of current trends. So Michael, do you want to take us through this?
Yeah. For a lot of people that have been asking me, specifically people who want to work in tech, finance, consulting, who want to get into like office jobs and who are sort of looking for things that are high paying, like high ticket items. I think the thing for the future that we should all be trying to understand or study up on is prompt engineering. Now, like a lot of people at the moment have used ChatGPT, but they are just using it for basic stuff, just asking questions. But I think if you actually learn how to ask a questions in a logical way, and if you study logic, and if you try and look around prompt engineering books, study that, because that's the thing that I've seen in industry at the moment. I've seen a lot of companies want people who understand how to use large language models and AI without necessarily being a coder. So you don't have to be a DevOps engineer like Az, for example, but you can be a BA like me who can learn how to do something that's halfway to being technical, but the skill is in really asking it questions to get to the answer that you want. If you are interested in the technologies that you should be looking at, again, OpenAI and Azure have got their own technologies, and TensorFlow as well. In terms of the actual current trends, things that you can do in the next 6 to 12 months. So these are qualifications and things that you can get that are almost your golden ticket towards earning like anything over £80,000 a year. Is things like the Comp TIA Security Plus certification, or anything in information security service. So ISC2. If you can get some of those qualifications, any of those qualifications in that list, there are 5 there. If you are strong enough to apply for jobs afterwards and really just keep looking in the market until you get your opportunity, it could be a junior opportunity. You might have to start at like 25K, 30K, but once you've got 2 or 3 years worth of experience and you're really into cybersecurity, you will make 6 figures. And the reason why I started this whole page in the first instance was because I had friends. I've got friends who've done some of these certifications who didn't go to university, friends who are working, in retail services or like restaurants, for example. But, really close friends of mine, I got them to sit down and get some of these certifications and study. They spent 1 solid year of their life studying and started applying for some of these jobs. And most of them now are working in these fields and, way more qualified than me in terms of cybersecurity itself. The qualification that I've got in cybersecurity doesn't exist anymore. I tried to look on QA, but it's an InfoSec certification in cybersecurity, not the diploma that you can get from them today if you go there. And that's about £3,000. For most of you, you should also realize that like I'm quite old. I'm 36, so like I'm like a millennial boomer. So some of these qualifications that I've got and certifications I got were really cheap back in my day, but it was expensive for me. But compared to how much it's going to cost you today, it's more expensive. And then finally, remote work. Now, here's the reality, guys. Like when you're starting out, really, really, really try not to focus too much on remote jobs. Get in the office. I know it sucks. I'm one of the biggest advocates for working from home, but it's good for your career. The number one way that you're going to climb up the ladder is people seeing you in the office, and that's going to make you go far. So if you can go in the office for the first 3 years of your career, do it. Now, if you work in a field like DevOps, for example, like Az, for example, or even as a project manager like Riz, some of the jobs do offer you hybrid work. But if you find a job and you really are umming and ahhing about whether you should go into the office or not, you should go in. It's going to be good for your career. And anyway, remote jobs, 100% remote jobs are going in the market at the moment. So it's not as prevalent as it was to get a job that was just 100% remote. So if you can find one, keep it. But honestly, in the early stages of your career, you should definitely go into the office, make yourself be seen. It will help you. It will 100% help you. I know people think that like it's just old people saying to you, oh, come into the office. No, there's a reason why you'll find people who are not as intelligent as you managing you. Anyway, I guess that's it for my pitch on current trends. Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Michael, can you unmute as he muted himself?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Next slide is as pivoting into tech.
Yeah, so as you guys know, I am someone, obviously, I stated before, I did mechanical engineering, and then I pivoted into the tech space. And a lot of people in the lives, just in general, ask me, what did you do in order to actually pivot into tech? And first of all, I always tell people that you need to first figure out what field of tech interests you, because tech in itself is massive in terms of just areas. So you have like data analytics, you have DevOps engineering, front-end development, data science, and then you have even non-technical roles such as like got project managers in tech, you have BAs in tech. You've got lots of roles ranging from non-technical to technical. Now, I'm going to focus more on the technical part because I personally believe going into a technical role is probably a bit more easier in terms of the skills you can do in your own spare time. And one way of you personally identifying what field of tech interests you is go to career fairs. This is what I did in my second year of university. During my second year of university, I went to multiple career fairs. And by the way, guys, there's loads of free career fairs. Do check them out first before you go for like paid ones. Check them out, speak to people in the tech field. So I spoke to multiple software developers, I spoke to people in the cloud environment. I even spoke to people in the data analytics environment because I was always very passionate about like maths and numbers. I really love that subject. And then that allowed me to then understand that I really wanted to go into just like software engineering or just like coding in general. I really wanted to go to those kind of technical roles. So what I did was I eventually started learning a programming language. So I started looking at Python. Now, one of the main reasons why I looked into Python was the fact that it is, in terms of other languages, quite readable. I haven't worked, but I've looked into like C# or C++ during a team day at Sky. And yeah, I'm telling you, it's much more complicated than Python. I also found out that in order to actually learn more about tech in general, there's not just the fact that you have to learn a programming language, there's other things such as methodologies. So methodologies are just like ways of working. So I learned about what is agile, what is waterfall. And I had examples of companies that actually use these kind of methodologies. And I also just learned about key terms such as what is a sprint plan, what is a retrospective, what is working in sprints, etc. in general, so that when it came to the interview, when I was doing the assessment centers, when they were asking, because I received this question multiple times, they were always asking me, from your CV, you did mechanical engineering, how come you want to pivot into tech, and what interests you about tech, what interests you about the tech industry? Therefore, I had loads of answers I could be talking about. So the programming language, I could be talking about the methodologies I've learned. And I also kept up with current tech trends. So I remember in my Accenture assessment center where I had to do a presentation of a piece of technology, I talked about blockchain. And back in the days of like 2019, 2020, blockchain was one of the popping things. Obviously now I know AI has overtaken it, but blockchain was very, very popular at that time. And I was quite informed in terms of blockchain technology, the pros, the cons. I even had examples of case studies in which blockchain technology has helped a lot of people, especially in countries where, like third world countries. Another thing that I would say is you can look at virtual internships. I've done it again on my lives and videos. I talk about Farage virtual internships. These are all free and they're all self-paced. You can do it all in your own time. And then you can also look into boot camps. Now, boot camps, there's a difference of opinion on whether you should go for the free ones, which are on the government website, or whether you should go for the paid ones. I personally feel like you should exercise all options of the free ones first. And if you feel like they're not actually going to get you anywhere, or you're looking at reviews and you feel like this is not something that aligns with me, then go towards the paid one. But I feel like with everything in life, if it's free, it's better, right? Another thing is certifications. Now with certifications, again, this is a sort of a rough idea in terms of if you have the certification by itself, it won't help you to get that first entry job or that first role into the tech field, mainly because having that certification is great to show your interest, but they rather look at a project or portfolio. I'll get to the portfolio after the certification. So in terms of certifications, it can range in price. That's another thing why I don't say that you should focus a lot on it, because obviously I know you guys are students or you're like in sixth form or college. Some of these certifications I've seen can range from $50. I believe the GitHub Foundation one is $50 on sale. Then you have like the Cloud Practitioner, which is $100, I think, but then you can range all the way up to, I believe, the Prince 2 one, which is like 2,000 or whatever, how much it is. And this is what leads me to the biggest point: portfolios. Portfolios, when it comes to a CV, right? The portfolio is the best part. Obviously, you have the work experience. That's going to be a lot better. But for you guys who are pivoting into tech, you probably don't have the work experience. So what hiring manager recruiters do is they look at your portfolio to see whether or not you have the right level of interest. Now, again, a lot of people ask me that I don't have the time or I don't have the facilities in order to do large, complex cloud deployment projects, etc. You still don't need to do that. Having some form of interest still in the field, even if you're doing like beginner or intermediate projects, still shows your interest and your passion for tech. Take me, for example, again, I got into Accenture, one of the most biggest tech consultancy companies, yeah. And you would think to yourself that I must have done something very complicated in terms of like projects. Not really. The most complicated project I probably did was a like storytelling algorithm or like a service calculator. And that in itself wasn't that long. But the fact that I did it and I was able to speak about it in the interview showed my passion and interest for tech. So if you guys can imagine, right, if you built something even more complicated than that, that will show your interest even more and you'll improve your chances of getting into that role. Now, finally, I'll go to the final step where once you've done the portfolio, maybe got a certification, maybe done a boot camp, you've learned about methodologies, you built your interest, you built your case, you structured your CV. Where do you go from there? Now, it depends on you. If you are someone that's a graduate, you can look at graduate schemes. Graduate schemes are really a good opportunity in terms of like upskilling because when I joined the Accenture graduate scheme, I did the whole training, the consultancy training, the full stack development bootcamp. That was a great bootcamp in which I learned a lot about tech in general. And then that catapulted me into the DevOps field. Now, for the people that are in sixth form or maybe trying to do like a career change, apprenticeships are available. And nowadays with apprenticeships, they're gaining a lot of traction in terms of salary. A lot of these apprenticeships are paying quite decent salaries. I mean, for example, the Sky apprenticeship level 4, I know that a lot because I've spoken to recruiters about it. They're paying you £25,000, which is quite decent considering the fact that you only need GCSEs. And then you have the Amazon apprenticeships, which are around 30 plus. So those are quite good. Another option is first line support roles. So first line support roles are usually people that are handling customer inquiries. So for instance, if you have an app, right, and it's shut down or something and you raise a complaint, those are the people that are taking in the complaint, they're ticketing it up, and then they are sending it off to other people. So maybe like second line support, and then they'll escalate higher. So what happens is, and I have people personally who have gone from first line all the way up to like the DevOps team or the software engineering team. They work in first line for like 1 or 2 years, and then they ask their manager, what is the roadmap needed for me to move over to, let's say, the DevOps team or the cloud engineering team? And then a company loves upskilling their own people. That is one of the things that they love doing. They will help train you up. They'll say you need to meet X, Y, Z threshold, and then you can eventually move over to this team, or you can do a secondment at that team. A secondment is just basically like a stint at that team, whether it's like 1, 2, or 3 months. So then if the team likes you, say you're quite good, they might take you on a permanent basis. And the final one I want to reach is for all of those people that are already in the corporate field. So if you are doing like audit, if you're doing accounting, or you're doing any form of professional services role, and your company has a tech like department or a tech team, you can ask for internal transfers. So internal transfers, well, it's defined by its name there, internal. You're just basically moving from one team to another. Now, this one can be a bit difficult depending on the logistics of how the company is set up. So like, for example, Accenture has 2 sides where it comes from. It's ACG, which handles all of the strategy, and then you have TAG, which handles all of the technology roles, so all the data analysts, all the DevOps engineers, the software engineers, etc. And in order to move across from ACG to TAG, you have to have someone on the other side that can vouch for you, usually a senior manager. But obviously this differs across each different company. So if you can find someone to vouch for you, or if you can speak to your manager, as like I said, with first-time support roles, and ask them, I want to join XYZ team. Can I do that? What is the roadmap needed? And then your manager will help you. And I know this for a fact because we have people on our team who are doing a secondment right now. I've had 2 people on our team who works for a different team at Sky, and they joined us for a 3-month stint where they're learning about cloud engineering, Terraform, DevOps, and then we have a discussion at the end saying whether or not that person can join us on a permanent basis. So I tell a lot of people, regardless of whatever degree you've done, even if it's non-STEM, a lot of people have this understanding that only people with a STEM degree can go into tech, which is completely false, because I've worked with people who are from a humanities background. They've done geography, history, they've done English literature degrees, and they still go into like graduate schemes, especially my Accenture graduate scheme. But also people that do not have a degree. I believe personally, tech is one of the easiest fields to get into without a degree compared to other form of professional services, mainly because if you have the skills and you have the understanding of tech, most of the times companies will take you. So when you are looking to pivot into tech, I highly recommend the first step that you need to do is figure out what field of tech and then start building on what I said, and hopefully you'll be able to find a role. And I'll hand it over to, I believe Riz will be next.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was very insightful. So what I'm going to be talking about is tips for career growth. So there's 3 sections here. Number 1, gaining experience. Number 2, networking. And number 3, seek feedback. So let's start with gaining experience first. The first bullet point there is work on many different types of projects. So in brackets, tech, regulatory, process improvement. This will increase your knowledge in these areas. So when you go into an organization, say you're working on a graduate scheme, you're going on an internship or whatever, right? Or even as an experienced hire like myself, it's always good to work on different types of projects because every type of project has a specific way of being delivered. So for example, if we look at regulatory projects, typically they may follow a waterfall methodology. And if we do a tech project, they typically follow an agile methodology. So by working on these different projects, you'll be able to understand what are the tools, techniques, what are the processes that are used in order to deliver these initiatives. Also, you're going to be working with different people, right? So when it comes to regulatory type projects, you're going to be working with lawyers, you're going to be working with business SMEs of subject matter experts, so people that work in risk, people that work in legal, people that work in HR. If you're going to be working on a tech project, you're going to be working with more technical individuals. So individuals such as software developers, DevOps, business analysts, solution architects, and you get to understand how things work from that perspective. So it's going to open up your lens and it's going to open up your breadth of experience by working on these different types of projects. The second bullet point is upskill yourself. Studying doesn't stop after university. Now, as you saw in our introduction slide, both me, Michael, and Az, we've all got our degree, right? We all got our 2-1s first, whatever we got in university. But just because you got your job, it doesn't mean that you stop learning, right? So you will see that on our slides, introduction slides, we've taken courses like Prince 2, P3O, Certified Scrum Master, or the cybersecurity courses, etc. That's because you have to keep on upskilling yourself and keep on obtaining new knowledge to understand what the new industry standard is. Also, some of these qualifications like Prince 2, because I can talk on that because I've done it and that's my industry, they are recognized across the globe. So I know a lot of people, they want to do 2 to 3 years in this country and then they want to move abroad. It's also, you can put that on your CV and it's appealing to recruiters and hiring managers that this individual is trained in Prince 2 and they have the experience to back that as well. So it's always good to go out there and upskill yourself. Lastly is get out of your comfort zone. So this is kind of linked to the first point in that box, is working on different types of projects, right? So say, for example, if you're doing the same type of project over and over and over again, right, you're just going to get used to the same methods, the same processes, the same tool sets, right? And the same team members. You need to get out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself. You always need to challenge yourself, whether that's a new type of project that you've never worked on before, whether it's a new task, a new activity. You can also do this in your personal life, trying something new, right? So always get out your comfort zone for you to gain new experiences. Second is networking. Now, networking is a really big thing, especially in consulting, in the consulting world, in the big 4 consulting world. Even in life, networking is very important. Right, so I always tell people, build a professional network, both online and offline, right? So obviously you can reach out to people like us, for example, me, Az, and Michael, you know, we're giving you guys tips on TikTok, we're holding this webinar, you're going to be able to ask us questions, etc. And also offline. So say, for example, you might, when you go into your first job, your career job, you might take a liking to an individual, to a particular manager, to a particular person who has years of experience, you know, on you. You can essentially turn them into a mentor. And at the end of the day, people that work in these organizations in career, they don't mind spending their time and energy to teach someone who they think is going to excel, right, in their career. So build that network. When it comes to the big 4 consultancies, you have to build that network. You have to get your name out there. The reason why I say this is a lot of the promotions and a lot of the discussions are around who knows who, right? So say, for example, you might be brilliant at your job. You might be the best delivery person, right? But if you're not making conversations with partners, directors, senior managers, right? And if you're not doing work for them, the extra work that you do outside of your client work, your name may not get mentioned in the talent reviews, as they call it, in order to get promoted. Second is going to be attend industry events, seminars, and meetups. Again, there's loads. I'm going to focus on project management. You know, there's a PMO meetup that happens. There are PMI meetups that happens, CAPM meetups that happen. And you can attend these seminars. Some of them are free, some of them are not, to again upskill yourself, understand what's going in the industry, understand the new issues, the challenges and the barriers. And you can also network there and, you know, talk to people of who are working in the industry. Also, it's an opportunity for you to find out, you know, I'm not currently liking my current role. What else is out there? You could potentially meet people that are hiring for roles in their current organizations. And then connect with your colleagues, mentors, and professionals in your field. Pretty much what it says on the tin. I'm going to focus on the mentor bit for a second, because everyone needs mentors, regardless of what you're doing in life. So say, for example, in this career space, you know, you're focusing on project management. You should have someone who's been in the game for a while, who has that experience that you can lean on. So if there's any challenges or issues that you're facing, you have someone to go to that can provide you with the wisdom that they built up over the years. Also, if you want to get into, you know, property or whatever, obtaining a mentor is really important. Someone that can give you their time, their knowledge, their experience, and their contacts in order to help you to get what you need. Lastly, it's going to be seek feedback. Now, you have to seek feedback, right? And it has to be constructive. Nobody wants to hear that they're doing bad. Nobody wants to hear that things aren't going well. But this is all part of your career growth. Because if someone keeps telling you, yeah, you're doing really well, and they don't point out, you know, the negatives or the stuff that you're not good at, you're not going to be able to improve on those points, right? So if you go into your next job, you might be thinking, yeah, I've done a wonderful job back in my old workplace. But in your new workplace, they might be saying, hold on a minute, there's a couple of things here that you can improve on. So when, for example, in real life, how would you do this? So if you're in university and you're working on a group project, seek feedback from the people that you're working with. Seek feedback from your lecturers, you know, if you're working with them, especially on your final year project. And in the working environment, you'll typically have talent reviews anyway. You have goals and objectives. You'll have a line manager, a people manager, whatever they're called. And, you know, you will obtain feedback from the people that you're working with. And, you know, typically it can just be 3 questions. You know, what am I good at? What do I need to improve on? And any other comments. And then you can understand what you're good at, what you need to improve on, and then develop an action plan. And make sure you develop an action plan, because it's not, you know, you've got the feedback and you can't just sit on it. You have to develop an action plan, right? So if someone tells you, yeah, you need to improve your knowledge in X, how are you going to improve your knowledge in X? Are you going to go out there? Are you going to go seek a qualification? Are you going to take some time out in your personal time to go out there, research the topic and learn about the topic, right? And the last point is use feedback as a tool for improvement. Basically what I just mentioned before, the whole constructive criticism element. Just use that as a tool for improvement, understand what needs to be done, and have clear action points on that. Right, we will jump onto the next slide, which is the offering slide. Michael, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, thanks for that, guys. I'm going to start offering group mentoring sessions. So if you click on my link tree, you'll see the link. So if you want more advice on some of the stuff that I might give you on TikTok, for example, you guys know what it's like when it's busy in there, like when there's hundreds of people, and I can't get to you. So if you want to come for like an hour or so, you can come into the Zoom call and I can talk to you, and you can ask me the question directly as well if you want, because sometimes I feel like there's a lag between people asking me questions and me then looking at the question and talking back, and by the time you've typed back, there's 500 other messages that have gone through and I can't see your message. So I'll be offering that. I've done a lot of CV reviews since I started. I've helped a lot of people. Some people have got jobs, some haven't, but I feel like the help that I've given people has been more positive than not. And I've done interview prep with some people, so I'm offering that at the moment. And yeah, I'm going to have other resources available, but basically, if you want to be ready for an interview, let me know and I'll sort it out for you. I did do one trial where I had one of my friends who was an MBB, who's an MBB consultant. He helped someone practice for a consulting interview. We tried that. We're going to keep doing it to see if it works. So if you're interested in that, let me know. But yeah, apart from that, yeah, just follow the page and yeah, go on Linktree. And yeah, that's it for me.
Perfect. As do you want to go into our offerings?
Yeah, so again, we have something quite similar in terms of stuff like mentoring sessions. We have mentoring sessions for myself or my brother. So depending if you are someone that is a recent grad, or you're going to be graduating, or you're just looking for advice of just how to break into the tech field, check out, it's in the Linktree link. It'll be mentoring sessions with us. But if you want to chat to my brother, if you're someone maybe who's already in the corporate field, but you want to take that next step up, you want to move to another company, or you want some advice on how to get into project management, check it out. Also, we do CV reviews, so I think it's a half-an-hour call, just helping out your CV, how we can change it about, what we can do to improve it, because as we know, CVs are probably one of the most important things, because it's all about first impressions. Finally, we have assessment centers and interview prep. So we standard thing again. I go through all of the stages that you're going to go through. Usually, it's like group exercise, individual exercise, and the one-to-one interview. We recently had one person that did it. I believe this week. He's having a data analyst graduate scheme AC tomorrow. So hopefully it goes well. I just gave him advice on how you can prep for the interview, how you can answer good questions, etc. So if you guys are interested, check out the Linktree link. The link is in our bio, so just go to our TikTok and then you can book a session.
Perfect. Thanks. I just want to add to that. You know, the mentoring sessions, obviously, it doesn't just have to be kind of job focused, career focused. There are other things that you can talk about. If it's, you know, how to present yourself, you know, how to become more confident, all those different elements. You know, we're happy to talk to that as well. Right, so now the interesting part of the webinar that I'm pretty sure everyone has been waiting for is the Q&A session. You can use the Zoom chat feature to ask questions if you are feeling shy. Obviously, not everyone wants to speak up in a call. If you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand and then Michael would unmute you and then you shall be able to speak. So guys, this is your opportunity to ask us questions. And, you know, essentially it's up to you. So, Max, we have our first hand raised. Michael.
I've unmuted him.
Can you hear me?
Max, don't swear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, cool. I'm currently doing business management at the University of Sheffield. I'm quite bored of it, if I'm being honest. I'm first year and everyone says, oh, it gets harder in second year and, you know, so forth. But currently I just think that my skills could be, used elsewhere in maybe a better environment. Currently I'm looking at degree apprenticeships, and I know it's quite late, but hopefully for, September or January. I've looked at UBS, Amazon, PwC, those sorts of organizations. And I'm sort of thinking, would that be a sensible thing to do? Because I'm also quite worried about money around uni. A lot of people have told me that you don't really notice it after you've left uni. And, I've heard people refer it to as like a tax, like another tax, but I'm not sure how true that is. And I'm just sort of wondering what would be the best sort of advice for that. The degree apprenticeships that I'm looking at are offering things like asset management. So that's with UBS. I think the PwC ones offer a CIMA qualification, which I won't currently get at University of Sheffield. But yeah, I'm just sort of like trying to expand my what's it called?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, I can take this one out. So for everyone who's going to join on, we're going to try and limit it to 3 minutes per question because there's a lot of us in here. But if you want to ask again, Max, just come back if no one else asks. So basically, Max, the first thing I'd always ask you is like, what's your driver? If it's a passion or if you want to make money, like I would say that business management is not a bad degree to do. Now, granted, the course might be a bit slow for you. So if you do want to do a degree apprenticeship, if you can find one and you can get in September, then yes, you should do it. Granted, it's probably harder to do a degree apprenticeship. I know I talk about them and I actually love them because you don't get the debt, but you get experience and you get the degree, but you'll be working as well as doing the degree. It will double your work. Now, I would only say do it if you have got an offer, but don't drop out to go and find one. Whereas if your course right now is not challenging, I think you should be looking at what jobs you might want to be doing in the future. I think you mentioned something about the charterships in accounting for your course, Max. Don't mute yourself. Have I mute you?
There we go. Sorry,
Yeah.
my dog was barking. Yeah, so I was looking at one of the qualifications was the accounting qualification.
Yeah. Yeah, I rate
Yeah.
accounting. Yeah. I mean, you've seen it. People joke about it all the time when they come on my streams. But if you can get the full accounting chartership, and I've shown this, there are plenty of jobs out there. A lot of you guys are worried about how much money you're going to make in the future, and I think you should look into if you can transfer to accounting and finance, Max, at the same university, you should do it. If you do find a degree apprenticeship that starts in September and you can start, also do it, but don't drop out without anything lined up because you'll end up with no qualification and still £9,000 owed for the year you've studied, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Yeah, thank
Okay.
you very much.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
If you got any more questions and no one asks again, Max, just come back on. Okay.
Okay, sweet. Thank you very
All right.
much.
Cheers.
Michael, I'm just going to navigate to the chat now. We'll just do one live and one chat, one after the other.
Okay.
So the question that I've got is, are the mentoring sessions free? No, they're not. If you go into our Linktree links, you'll be able to see the different offerings and what the charges are. As a beginner, what is the best way to start making projects? As you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So as a beginner, what would I say first is when you're focusing on making projects, first learn the fundamentals of the actual programming language. So an advice I give to everyone when they're trying to learn about coding is don't focus too much on the syntax, focus more on actually the logic behind what you're doing. So if you're going from A to B to C to D, and then in terms of projects, there are loads of beginner projects in terms of, let's say, for example, with Python. Again, there's a beginner project of building a service calculator, the one I did. I remember myself clearly, it took me only like 10 or 15 lines of code. Trust me, it's not super complicated. But again, like I say, when you are bringing up the new IDE or your own VS Code, first of all, write in just the text, write what is the logic needed in order for me to use the service calculator or to go through the logics. So that's my advice. And in terms of complexity, I just recommend just start first, get at least maybe 2 or 3 beginner projects, and then choose one of them, and then start developing the complexity of that. If you don't make like an intermediate or very complicated project, that's absolutely fine. As long as you have some form of projects on your CV, that's all that's required. Again, like I said, I got into Accenture software engineering grad scheme, but I only had like a service calculator, like a storytelling algorithm. It wasn't that complicated in terms of the actual logic. But what it did allow me to do is to speak in the interview about my interest of the work that I did in learning Python, in learning tech. And also what I got to remind a lot of people, especially people who are not doing a computer science degree, if you are learning about tech, or you're learning about Python, you're doing these projects, it shines you in a really good light because it shows that you are someone that's learning outside of, let's say, school hours or university hours, whatever, right? So again, that's another way you can clearly show your passion. And if the company's values is, we love people who upskill them and develop themselves, you can clearly say there, I am someone that aligns with your company's value for X, Y, and Z. During my own spare time, I've been learning about Python, I've been learning about tech, etc.
Okay, thank you for that. Next we have on the screen Rafi.
Yeah, I'll unmute him. Okay.
Hello.
Rafi, don't swear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Karen.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm currently a year 12 student. I'm looking to get into tech, but not completely sure what specifically in tech. and I've been trying to weigh out my options between a degree apprenticeship and just a regular standard degree. And I was thinking the goal is to eventually move internationally. So I was thinking, would it be more recognized to do a degree in one of the top universities in computer science, or do a degree apprenticeship, which most of them offer digital and technology solutions, get that 4 years of experience? Do you think which would be better internationally?
I can give this one to guys. What do you want me to? I can take this one.
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
Michael.
So first of all, thanks for the question. And I just want to clarify something. A lot of people in the chat were asking, what does tech mean as a job? So tech can refer to information technology sector, or it could mean software as a service. So organizations that give SaaS solutions like SAP, Oracle, etc., or it could be hardware and equipment or telecommunications. It's a broad term in the same way that people talk about working in finance. In terms of a recognized qualification around the world, a degree is viable if you go to university. It's good whether you go to a Russell group or non-Russell group. It doesn't really matter. The thing about the sort of jobs that you want to get into, experience is the most important thing. If you can get a degree apprenticeship, I would say it's better than a degree, because you get the experience and the degree and probably the certifications that are required for that field. So if you can find a degree apprenticeship, move for that if you can, if possible. But a computer science degree is equally as good.
Yeah, I'm just gonna add to that as well. When you're planning to go abroad, right, they're not just gonna hire you straight based on your degree. They're gonna look more on your experience. So going as a fresh graduate abroad is highly unlikely, right? Especially I would say in the Middle East region. I've tried and it doesn't work. They want solid experience. They want you to show what work history you have and what you've done previously in order to hire you, because it's a risk for them to pay for your visa and pay for your accommodation and whatnot. Obviously, it's a lot of money for them. So they want you to have experience. So I agree with Michael. Take the degree apprenticeship. That's going to be 3 to 4 years ahead of your peers. You have solid experience to put in your CV. And when it comes to you being in an interview, you have experiences to draw from.
Anything else?
No. Has anything else to add?
No, nothing else. I mean, again, just echoing what you're saying, especially in the tech field, a lot of people have aspirations of moving to like the Middle East, and definitely there are opportunities. But as a graduate, I highly advise getting as much experience as possible. Or there's not even a graduate, someone just in the entry sort of position into the tech field, get as much experience as possible, so that when you do go over, you can go for like the senior roles and demand a lot of money.
Okay, Rafi, you good?
Yeah, all right. Thanks, guys.
Okay, cheers.
The next question on the chat is from Toby. What do you think would be the best project to do as an aspiring actuary?
Oh, I don't have a list of actuarial projects. But if you guys are interested in projects, I can create some project sets from you, from some of my friends who might be actuaries. I can ask them what sort of stuff they work on. But no, I don't have anything at the moment.
Yeah, me neither. I guess that's one we can bring back to the group later on.
Yeah.
Just sorry, Toby, keep watching the lives and then Michael will bring that back. We have Mubarak on the Zoom. Michael, do you want to unmute him?
Yeah.
Yeah, hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for the session, firstly. So, my question was just generally around advice. So I'm quite like early on in my career, like graduated a year and a half ago, and my issue is kind of jumped around a bit. So I've had like 2, 3 jobs in the last year and a half. So like my first proper grad job was working in like project management, that's for a investment bank. But then I kind of left that because I wanted something a bit more technical and cross-functional, which is what I'm doing now. Like it's like at a hedge fund, so it's like project management, business analysis, coding, data analysis, and stuff like that. But the thing is, at the moment, because I'm working on so many different projects, I'm only really getting like a high level understanding of a lot of things. So I was just wondering, what would you say is better, like long term for your career, having a high level understanding of a lot of different things, or being an SME in like something, niche or something specific, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So I'm happy to take that on Michael and us if you guys are all right.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say from my perspective, right, you're still early on your career. So the more exposure that you have at this moment in time, the better. And it will let you understand what is it that you want to get into. Once you get into kind of the late stages, that's when you want to figure out. So say, for example, when it comes to consulting, right, because that's what I'm going to use because that's what I work in. When you're from like the analyst to like the consultant slash senior consultant grade, you are encouraged to work on as many different projects, as many different industries, right? So in financial services, you've got insurance and wealth management, you've got pension, you've got insurance, you've got, investment banking, you've got whatever, all these different arms. However, when you step up into that manager level, that's when you should be thinking about your niche. So for argument's sake, let's say you focus on one thing and one thing, it piques your interest, whether that's, I don't know, insurance. Let's pick insurance as an example. That's where you want to develop the niche. Obviously, you have a high level understanding of, what goes on, what needs to be done, and then obviously you're going to build up your experience over the years of you working on these different projects. But that's when you should be thinking about your niche in terms of what you want to go into. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. It's probably a case of me probably thinking too far ahead. So yeah, that makes
Good
complete
question
sense.
to ask. Well, what I would say is see what you like in the space that you're doing now and then focus on that, right? But it's good to get experience all these different things because you never know. Later on down the line, you might even want to pivot out of, finance and you want to go into something else, right? You never know. The whole mentality, you might say this is not for me. Michael, has anything to add?
I've got a quick one to add, like literally 10 seconds.
Yeah.
The best thing to do is find the person who's your boss's level, who you might admire, and look at what qualifications they've got or what they've specialized in and do that. Okay, cool. 3 minutes is up. Lucian is next, I think, on my hands up.
Yeah.
Lucian, don't swear.
I don't swear. It's fine. Hi, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good to know. Okay, I think of perhaps working in finance. Well, I'd love to work in finance in the future, and well, I did start coding with like Python and SQL, and it's been just it's been all right. It hasn't been great. It's a bit difficult because I mean, it's not too technical for me, but it gets to the point where I have like uh, I have just a little bit of an idea of what people use like these coding languages for in like finance. So if you could please enlighten me as to like what would be the proper use of like coding when it came to perhaps finance, that'd be great.
I can answer this one first, guys, if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so when again, like a bit like the tech question, like I think the first thing you have to investigate and find out is when you say finance, like what is it that you want to do? Like, do you want to work in banking? Do you want to do investment services, or do you want to work in insurance, or consumer finance or corporate finance? So you use the technology stack to solve the problem in the domain that you pick. So for example, if you picked like I'm going to pick, so like if you pick banking, you would then focus on looking to create a Python project that solves a problem um, within like retail banking, for example. You don't just learn Python for the sake of Python. It's good to learn it. It's good to learn all these tools, but what problem are you looking to solve? What analysis are you doing in Python? There's no point learning it if you don't know what you're using it for. So you should research what it is you want to solve as the problem and use the tool for that.
Oh, okay, thank you very much, Michael.
Okay. Az&Riz, you want to add anything else?
In terms of like yeah, again, tech stack, yeah, what Mike just said, I will support that as well. If you want specific understanding on the specific logic that they use, check out some of the job posting, and then you'll see some of the tech stacks they use, and then you can look into projects of like you said, you're learning Python and stuff like that, which is a very used tool in that field. I can understand because of the data sorting abilities that Python has. But yeah, my advice would be, yeah, have a look at the job description, see exactly what tech stack they use, and you can use that as a base reference, maybe. Again, like I said, I don't work in the finance field. I work in content distribution, so can't give you a lot of advice in that sense.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll definitely have a look into projects which could perhaps help me further my knowledge when it comes to using these tool in order to like help myself for the financial calculations and whatnot.
All right, thanks, Lucian. Thank you.
No worries, mate.
We've got some questions in the chat. Michael, should we refer to those?
Yeah.
First one is from M. Tips on securing internships in finance, for example, valuable things to have on CV. Who wants to take that? I can take it if you guys. Yeah, I'll take it. Basically, in finance, what you need to do is the valuable things to have is number one, look at the job spec that you're applying for, right? So, and what the skill set are they looking for, right? And do you have those skill sets? So, say for example, there's going to be soft skills, there's going to be technical skills, also your commercial awareness. Do you understand what's going on in the market currently? Now, finance is very broad, right? So you could be talking, you could be talking a project manager, you could be talking a developer, you could be talking accounting, you could be talking audit, you could be talking investment banker, wealth management. That term is very broad. So you need to understand what exactly is it that you want to go into finance. So say for example, you want to go into project management in finance, right? Right. So what are the key skills that a project manager needs? What are the soft skills? What are the technical skills? What are some of the applications that a project manager uses that you can potentially learn and then put that into your CV? Secondly, you probably have a part-time job working in retail or in hospitality. This is my assumption, because a lot of uni students do. You need to make sure that you can align what you've learned in your part-time job when you go into the interviews and the key skills that you've learned in those jobs and put that on your CV. So, a lot of people say, well, I've just worked in retail. How can I align it to finance? But when you're working in retail, you're dealing with customers. So that's dealing with clients. You're listening, you're problem solving, you're organizing, you're communicating. These are the key soft skills that you can pull out of your retail/hospitality experience and put that on your CV, right? So say, for example, you worked in Primark, you worked in Tesco, you're going to be dealing with clients, you're going to be dealing with people every day, communication, you're going to be listening to them, problem solving. When a customer comes to you with an issue, right, you're going to go into problem solving mode. So you need to pull those different things and put that on your CV and make it clear. Those will be some of my tips. I don't know, Michael or Az, if you've got anything else to
add. I tend to say, like, if you write it in a finance format, you need to find out specifically what the job advert is asking for and link it back to the skills that you've got, and make sure you write your CV in a STAR format. So the STAR method, situation, task, action, result. And yeah, that's what I would say you focus on.
Good.
I've got one question from my chat here, which was, what's the most useful coding language? I think it depends on the problem you're trying to solve. I don't think there's one major one, but I think the most popular is probably Python. Is that right, Az? You could probably answer this one in less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, so it's you banging on the head. It depends on what you're trying to do, right? If you're trying to do front-end web development, Python will probably be a bit useless, especially the fact that a lot of websites use the React framework, so they use JavaScript. So again, this is going back to my slide. Before you take the step of understanding what programming language you want to look into, first understand what field of tech you want to go into. Whether that is web development, then you could look at HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or if you want to go into data analytics, you can learn about Python, SQL, R, etc. Or if you want to go into DevOps engineering, the job role that I do, you can start learning about Python. You can start learning about Terraform. You can start learning. I know Terraform's a config language, but it's still a language. You can start learning about Bash. You can start learning about other form of languages. So first, please just identify what field of tech you want to go into, what aligns with you the most, and then you can learn the programming language attached to that field. A lot of people say Python mainly because number one, it's very readable in terms of the syntax. It is very beginner friendly, and it is sort of used across multiple different parts of tech, especially like tech and data analytics and DevOps. Both fields use some form of Python. That's why a lot of content creators like Michael, myself, and other content creators on all these platforms say Python is, is easy to learn. But if you want to get into web development, that's your passion. Obviously, you wouldn't really learn about Python. You'll learn about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
Yeah, and just from a bias point of view, I learned Java, and a lot of the businesses I've worked for all have legacy systems that were written in Java. So you could also look to find a programming language that will keep you employed for a long time. Next question.
Yeah, I got a question in the Zoom chat. Currently in support, I feel like I'm at a stage where I want to move into DevOps or solution engineering. What sort of advice would you have to manage workload and doing extra courses? I'm going to throw that over to you guys.
Yeah, so first of all, what I would say is if you're in support, it again goes back to some of my slides that said you can look for internal transfers, and you need to speak to your manager and ask if you do have a tech or DevOps team, you can ask them, look, I'm very interested in DevOps. Can you lay out a roadmap of what I need to hit in order to reach that team? And if they don't have like a DevOps team, that's absolutely fine. In terms of, you'll have to just upskill yourself in your own spare time. And then in terms of advice regarding managing workload and doing extra courses, you can do multiple things. Number one, there are boot camps available out there that are after working hours. They are quite rare, I won't lie, but there are boot camps out there. Or if you're someone that can self-learn, you can look to just set a period of time. So this is what I did during my second year of university. Every day, well, not every day, but every other day, I would spend like 1 or 2 hours just learning about tech in general. And if you stay disciplined with that, you can learn a lot. Nowadays, you've got a lot of resources, like you've got ChatGPT to help you out with coding. I always still recommend people use ChatGPT for coding, not to actually write the code, but for ChatGPT to explain the code to you. So I even do that nowadays. If I see something that's very complicated, I'll throw in ChatGPT and I'll ask it, can you explain it to me as if I was like a 10-year-old or 5-year-old or whatever. It breaks it down, it simplifies it, you can use those tools. But my main advice would be, if you can, ask your manager, can I move into the DevOps team? What do I need to do? And the reason why I just say that is because I've spoken to many people who have gone through that route and they've eventually joined the DevOps team.
Okay, perfect. I've got another question in Zoom chat, unless Michael, you've got something on your side on the TikTok.
So on my TikTok, I've got just people talking about R as a language. I think it's useful. There's a follow-on question. Oh wait, hang on a sec. Riz, are you doing the questions from Zoom in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay. No, nothing from my TikTok at the moment.
I've got a question for my TikTok. Drizzy was asking about just cybersecurity in general. If we can just talk about it. What's your feelings of cybersecurity?
Yeah. So cybersecurity again is a broad term. So when people say, what do you want to do? When I tell people what to do in cybersecurity, I tend to recommend they do the easy courses into cybersecurity, like information security. There are other types of cybersecurity courses that you can do that are way more complex, but I only say that because there is a demand for people to get those qualifications and get those jobs. Likewise, it's like something like software testing as well. That can also get you into cybersecurity jobs. So if you learn how to do software testing, that's non-coding. It's quite a good skill to have. And again, these are all skills that you don't have to have any coding or programming experience, but you're just willing to learn. So again, I don't want to just generalize and just say cybersecurity. Cybersecurity means a lot of things. So it depends what you're interested in. Maybe it can be a bit more specific. That's it, really.
Cool. Just quickly follow up on that. Again, cybersecurity is a massive space. In terms of entry roles, there are a lot of entry roles available. But do bear in mind that right now, currently, a lot of people usually migrate over to the cybersecurity space. So they've worked in tech. An example is my first role in Accenture. The cybersecurity team were all people who migrated from like software development or DevOps. They moved on to more like a DevSecOps role. So do bear that in mind, guys.
Perfect. We have a question in chat from HR, Human Resources. I hope not. Hi guys, I want to get into project management. What courses / slide projects could I take to better my chances? I'm a business marketing graduate. So what I will say is there's loads of courses in there, but the first one I would say is Prince 2 practitioner, foundation and practitioner. That course is basically globally recognized. It will teach you the basic tenets of project management and how to effectively deliver a project from start to finish in phases and all the different tools, techniques, and documents that need to be completed. What I would say is also learning the basics of project management. So some of the basics are stuff like planning, how to effectively plan a project, RAID management, so risk and issue management, financials. Every project will have financials associated to them. So you're going to be expected to track those financials, the forecast, the budget, the actuals, change control, all these different elements. If you type into Google or anything like that, before you go on a course, type in the basics of project management and get yourself used to that. Also the different methodologies. So like I mentioned before, depending on what type of project you're going to be delivering, one, if it's a tech project, it's going to be a different type of methodology. So say, for example, like Agile, Scrum, all of that stuff. Then secondly, if you're delivering more of a regulatory type project or a business type project, operational type project, you'll probably more than likely follow a waterfall methodology, and understanding the different nuances between those two methodologies, the different processes, the different tool sets, the different roles and responsibilities in those methodologies is key. Also looking at governance structures. So whenever there's a project, there's always governance involved. So there'll be meetings like steering committees, working groups, where basically things will get discussed, the work will get discussed, risks, issues will occur, and things will need to escalate. So I would say look at these different elements. In terms of side projects, when it comes to project management, the side projects that you can potentially do is, the stuff that you've done at uni, so your final year project, or the group work that you've done. You could essentially be the project manager and making sure everyone is doing what they need to do, tracking actions, decisions, risk issues, all of that stuff. And with project management, you can link it to anything. It doesn't need to be, something that you've done at uni. On a day-to-day basis, you could be doing project management on your daily life. You could have side hustles going on, like a house renovation as an example. You could be managing that. So you just have to think of relevant examples in your head of stuff that you've managed that essentially you could talk to in the project management methodologies way. Michael, I don't know if you've got anything else to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, I rate Prince 2. That was one of the first qualifications I got. I don't use it anymore, but it's such a useful qualification, and people still laugh to this day. When I tell people to do Prince 2, they're like, why would I do it? It's like, because every organization, even if they use Agile, they still use Prince methodology, they still use waterfall. And yeah, it's one of the most useful qualifications that you can get. That's it from me.
Right. Any other questions on the TikTok, guys? On the TikTok
Yeah,
chat?
I've got one. Does going to Russell Group or prestigious university improve employability? I'm going to say yes and no. Yes, it does. If you go to certain universities, I mean, I think we've all established now from my TikToks that LSE is the most underrated of the top unis. If you go there, chances are you'll end up in a good job. The reality is, though, is that there are a lot of people who don't go to Russell Group universities who are more driven in terms of getting their career going somewhere than you are even aware of. So what some people do and what happens is you might be a Russell Group grad, you finish, and you expect your university and your degree to push your career forward. But somebody who hasn't gone to Russell Group uni is going to want it more, and they'll do whatever it takes, and they'll get all the skills and qualifications, and they end up getting the jobs. So yeah, it depends. Honestly, there's no right or wrong way. And then there's people with no degrees. if you look at the government's last report on employability, more people without degrees are getting more professional jobs, and it's reducing the ratio between degrees and non-degree people in the professional services, because we're going into an age where what counts more is your experience and your qualification, is your experience and your certifications in a subject than the degree you do.
And I just want to add to that. Someone's like me, I didn't go to a Russell Group uni, but I secured an internship, right? And that internship helped me massively to secure my graduate scheme. Why? Because I had a year's experience. I knew how the corporate world worked, and I could hit the ground running. As someone who just went to uni, doesn't have any, internship experience or placement experience or whatever, that person has to learn from scratch, right? So if you don't go to a Russell, even if you do go to a Russell Group uni, and especially if you don't go, make sure you get some type of work experience, whether that's a year-long placement, summer placement, whatever it is.
And one last thing on this one, like, guys, it's not a competition with the other universities. Like, just focus on yourself.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, just focus on yourself. That's it for my TikTok.
Has anything from our TikTok?
Just got a question saying about can you please talk about cloud computing? I'm new to cloud from web development. I think TJ is probably asking maybe the route. I could take this. Basically, my advice would be in terms of cloud computing, look at projects of understanding the cloud infrastructure. So you got to see what are the reasons why companies are moving to some form of cloud infrastructure. You're someone that is from a web development background, so a lot of web pages are all hosted on. It might be hosted on virtual machines, or it might be hosted through a cloud front distribution network. I believe that's one of the services of AWS. Those are some of the things that you should be knowing about, but you should know about the fundamentals aspects in terms of securing a cloud environment. So know what like VPCs are, what are subnets, what are internet gateways to allow conversations between your virtual machines to the outer internet. Those are some of the things that I would recommend in terms of cloud computing. Understand the fundamentals aspect of cloud computing, and then you can understand how to deploy your web page or your website or your infrastructure onto the cloud.
Perfect. Going back to the Zoom chat, so Max has a follow-up question. Following on the question earlier, if I don't manage to get a degree apprenticeship and end up staying at uni, would you say doing accounting and financial management is more useful and transferable degree than business management? Thank you.
I wouldn't say that accounting and finance is more transferable than a business management degree, because with business management, you can end up in more different types of jobs. You can end up in operations management, HR. You can end up running the business itself. Likewise, in accounting and finance, you can end up at director level. So it depends. I'd say probably business management is more transferable than accounting and finance.
Agreed. Accounting or finance will put you more in a niche than business, in my opinion. But again, it all depends. When people ask me these questions, it all depends what you want to do and what you want to get into and what your goal is, right? And then you work back from there and you decide what is the best route for you. Michael, any questions from your TikTok chat? I've got a couple of questions on the Zoom chat if we just want to whiz through them.
Let's just go through Zoom quickly, because let's just go through Zoom and then we'll go to TikTok.
Okay, fine, give me 2 seconds. Would the transition be difficult for a person from a completely non-tech background? As I'm going to give that to you because that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, no, I don't think it will be difficult from a non-tech background. A lot of people have this massive assumption that in order to get into tech, they need to be someone that has a very good understanding of like mathematical models and stuff like that. And yes, for certain roles, you need to have a good understanding of mathematical models. You need to have a good understanding of just maths in general. But you'd be very surprised. There's a lot of roles out there that don't require you to have this high level of knowledge. And in addition, again, if you are someone that wants to go into tech but not for a technical role, remember there are still non-technical roles out there, such as BAs, project managers, and then if you're a BA, you might need to migrate over to a product owner, product manager, and you can make a lot of money as a product owner or product manager. There are loads of non-technical roles that are needed. There's also like QA tester roles, I believe, I used to work with in my first project. Again, they don't have like a massive technical well, they don't have like they're not expected to know like coding and stuff. So I wouldn't really worry about it in terms of if you are someone that maybe doesn't have a massive like if you didn't do like a STEM degree and you're worried that oh I don't have like a high level of maths, how am I going to get into tech field? Trust me, don't worry about it. I've worked with people that don't need that kind of high level maths. I just say if you want to get into tech, definitely first identify what field of tech you like the most, and then build your skill set and build that portfolios or whatever from that side.
Michael, any comments on that?
No, I can't for that one. No, it's good.
Next question is, so this is a follow-up regarding project management of HR. Should I do that now or do jobs pay for it? If I should do it now, do you know any credible organizations that teach it or provide the course? What I would say is organizations will pay for it. So I obtained my Prince 2 by going through the business, you know, and they will pay for it. What I would say is for you to focus on the fundamentals of project management and the basic pillars of project management, which I mentioned before. And if you can articulate that in an interview, that will show that you have some knowledge of how to deliver projects and the different nuances when it comes to project management. So in my opinion, don't go out there, don't pay for it now. Learn the fundamentals and you can find loads of materials online. Even if you type in Prince 2, right, you will find loads of free material that you can use to build your knowledge.
I rate that a lot. Like always learn for free. Like don't spend money on courses if you don't have to. You guys probably have access to libraries. You can probably read up about Prince 2 in libraries, and you can probably know more about it before you get the qualification. So yeah, learn for free.
As you was going to say something?
Yeah, I've got a question from the live as well. So Zayn was asking, what would be the reason you aren't given an internal role after a degree apprenticeship? Does anyone want to take that up?
I mean, Riz, you can go first. You go first. Yeah.
I mean, there could be several factors, right? Number one, the business is not in a position to offer you a permanent role. So, you know, things can change, the economy, the goals, things are not going in the right way. Hence, they need to make cuts, and typically that will happen. You might not secure a role. Secondly, potentially when you did your degree apprenticeship, sometimes you didn't meet the bar, right? And you got to remember that there's a certain amount of roles that they're potentially going to hire for, and you just didn't meet that bar. You didn't meet the criteria for them to offer you a role. And these things do happen. This even happens in experienced hires, not in the contracting space, but in the permanent space. You know, we are judged. Everyone is judged in terms of your performance. You know, you are put on a scale, the bell curve, the famous bell curve, where people are ranked upon, where you are meeting expectations, not meeting expectations, etc. And if you're not meeting expectations, you are put on a personal development plan, and you know whatever the outcome is of that, that will be the outcome. So there are several reasons to why you potentially not secure a role. Michael, you want to add to that?
Yeah. So my answer wasn't going to be as professional as yours, Riz. I was going to be like, the reality is some businesses have a business model of just bringing in interns and placement students, and that's it, because they know they're going to have more next year, and they never have to increase the wage, so they're getting cheap labor. And actually the job only needs it needs somebody who doesn't know that they're being used for cheap labor. So you work really hard and they get a lot out of you. I mean, you get the experience, to be fair. It's a mutual exchange. It's just, yeah, the business model for some for some organizations is to not employ or have return offers, even though they might say that, yeah, if you work really hard, you can get a return offer. No, that's the business model. That's it.
I agree with that as well. As you got anything to
No, not for me. I think you guys, yeah, spoke about it a lot.
Okay, I'll go into the next question. Is university ranking a really big factor when it comes to applying for a job abroad? If so, is the course ranking more important than the university ranking itself? Who wants to take that one? I can take that one.
Okay.
The simple answer is no, because when you apply for a job abroad, they're looking at your work history, right? So from someone I know people that moved to Dubai in last year, in the last 5 years, in the last 6, 7, 8 years, what they care about most is what is your work experience and what are you bringing to the organization. So say, for example, you've worked in several organizations in the banking sector. You've delivered large transformation programs, you've delivered regulatory programs, you've delivered tech programs. You understand the nuances when it comes to project management, governance, and all that good stuff. That's what they're going to be looking for, right? They're going to be looking for what is your work history. Now, me personally, I know 5 people that have moved abroad, and none of those individuals have moved just freshly after graduating. I haven't come across that. I don't know if Michael or Az, you guys have come across that. But they will employ you based on your work history and how you perform in the interview.
Yeah. Finding jobs abroad, the easiest thing, well, I mean, easier said than done, is to actually move to that country, because once you're in the country, it's a bit easier to get the job as well. But unless you reach out to a LinkedIn recruiter who's recruiting for a job abroad, it's quite hard for a company to justify bringing you in and paying for a visa and stuff. And, unless you're really good at what you do, then to be fair, guys, like, you can make a lot of money in this country. Now, if you want to leave for the weather, I understand. But if it's a financial reason, there's plenty of money out there. I'm sure Riz and Az can agree with me. Like, people don't realize that there's money sloshing around in this country. Like, you don't have to leave.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
The next question, guys, I don't know if you have anything on TikToks.
No, but Riz, I was gonna say probably the last question.
No worries.
Yeah.
The last question, give me 2 seconds. Last question is from Lucian. Is it somewhat advantage to speak multiple languages in terms of niche job prospects? Michael, do you want to say that?
I think, for example, if you want to work like anywhere in the Middle East or anywhere where Arabic is a spoken language, I think, yes, it's an advantage if you can speak English and Arabic. As well, if you want to work in, most of my followers all want to work in finance. So I'm speaking to that group of people. If you want to work in the big banks or like hedge funds in Europe, German and French is the most useful to speak, because in Switzerland, Germany, Liechtenstein, all those countries, they all speak German and French. Now, I know they speak Swiss German is slightly different to German, but yeah, yes, it helps speaking more than one language. Yeah, definitely.
I agree. Right, so that is the end of our webinar. I hope everyone found that useful.
Yeah, hopefully. Guys, give us some feedback, please.
Give us some feedback. I mean, in regards to the function that you guys were able to, we were able to do this Q&A. Obviously, you got to understand who we are a bit more in terms of our background, in terms of what we're currently doing, and in terms of our different offerings. I think Michael and Az, we had this idea that we're going to send out a form to the folks who are in the Zoom chat, just to get some feedback to understand, would you guys like this to happen again? And if you do want it to happen again, what are some of the topics that you want us to discuss and bring back to the table? So again, guys, appreciate everyone joining. Hope you found this useful, and then hopefully we can do this in the future. Again, Michael and Az, any closing remarks from you, gents?
No, not for me. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed having this conversation with you guys. I love your channel, guys. If you are following me and not following Az&Riz, follow them, please. Yeah, let's all grow together.
Yeah, just want to say, yeah, again, thank you for everyone. It's the first time we've done something like this, so thanks for everyone for being with us in terms of like teething issues. Shout out to everyone as well on TikTok. You guys were pushing the support as well. You guys have been making the platform, the community for both Michael and us. In terms of, I've got like, people asking in terms of future events. If the demand is there, we'll be happy to make future events. We're going to get some information from the feedback. And then we will start off again. So yeah, just basically watch this space.
Perfect, everyone. Thank you again. As you can see on the page, we've got our TikToks there. So if you're not following, please do follow. More content to come from both of our pages. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.